How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another day here, and we are back doing another tour around Walt Disney World. Today, we are looking at, I can't believe I'm saying this, a decade-old attraction, but it's still one of the newer attractions in Walt Disney World, and that is the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. We're going to be taking a look at the mine train, the history of it, a couple of fun facts. We're going to take a look at some stuff on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Now, obviously, this is a very famous attraction now in Walt Disney World. It's one of the, I would say, one of the e-tickets at Walt Disney World, especially in the Magic Kingdom. I would say its fandom has slowly waned, but again, it's been 11 years. But this is the perfect attraction for Magic Kingdom. This is an attraction that is literally the definition of Walt would have wanted, right? An attraction that families can go on together. And Seven Dwarfs is really the epitome example of that. You know, you kind of look at what the theme of this new Fantasyland that opened back in 2014. And that is when this attraction opened in 2014, when the new Fantasyland was revealed to us. And this was a huge part of New Fantasyland, was this attraction. And you look at some of the things that came along with New Fantasyland. You look at, you know, Ariel's submarine, or whatever, not submarine voyage. You get what I'm saying? The Ariel's voyage, right? So you've got that attraction. You've also got Belle and the sort of the interactive attraction. It's not really as much a ride, but it's more like a walkthrough attraction. And then you also have the very infamous Beast Castle, right, which is the restaurant. So you've got that. And then you consider some of the things like Gaston, right? You've got Gaston's Tavern. You have a couple of different things that Fantasyland brought in, but the biggest thing in the square center of it all, with all of that kind of surrounding it, is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Now, some interesting backstory to this area. This one hits home for me because when I was a kid, growing up going to Disney, huge Winnie the Pooh fan, and before this was what it is today, which is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, this used to be the submarine voyage, which was actually a part of, it's kind of the in-between of Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. It was a great way to kind of break up the two lands, and that was there for a really long time. And before Disney wanted to put any big attractions, like the one we have today, or big structures, they actually this is really cool in here, they basically just made a play area, which was Winnie the Pooh themed. It was like Pooh's Fun Spot or something like that. And they have the famous tree that's at the entrance of Winnie the Pooh. That tree used to be the core of a play area, which my first 2 or 3 times coming to Walt Disney World, I spent almost more time there than anywhere else in Walt Disney World. So that spot obviously holds a special place in my heart. I apologize, it's snowing outside, so you might hear the snow plows going by. Hopefully that doesn't happen too much today. But anyway, kind of continuing along, so that area eventually in 2014, the ground settles, allows for a true expansion of Fantasyland, and in 2014, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train opens on that plot of land. Some other interesting things about the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, as we're coming down the big lift hill here at the kind of the middle of the attraction, and really beautiful landscaping. They did a really nice job of landscaping this area. And kind of to go along that theme, if you didn't realize, there was actually a couple of fires in the bigger part of the mountains of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. They actually have caught on fire from fireworks. And it's happened a couple of times, at least 2 or 3 times that we know of and have been documented. And the Reedy Creek Fire Department had to come. Yeah, it was kind of like up in that area up there that you could see. And if you look online, you could find pictures of that. It obviously, I mean, didn't burn the place down, but, you know, you could obviously see there was fire up there. And that obviously has created the new Fantasyland. Every day it is wet on Fantasyland property, because now they keep everything wet. They have a sprinkler system that goes off right around the end of the fireworks that's timed up, so there's no real dry areas for that to happen. And Seven Dwarfs Mine Train was kind of the leader in that whole situation. Vekoma, who is a very famous roller coaster manufacturer, they were in charge of taking on the task of this attraction, and they did a really nice job of it. What's also interesting with this attraction, we know Disney likes to innovate, and the innovative kind of thing with this attraction, yeah, you might look at it on paper, yeah, it's just a regular mine train, except for the fact the actual carts swing back and forth, and the way the terrain is laid out, you have a lot of banks and curves, and you very smoothly go into those banks and curves, not only to make it a smoother attraction, but also a different feeling attraction, and it makes you feel like you're really in a mine car. So some little things like that really weren't necessary, but Disney went above and beyond and really did a nice job of that sort of the little different feeling compared to another attraction. This attraction is 3 minutes long, and the maximum speed for these little mine trains, 39 miles per hour. That is the speed limit for this attraction. Another little interesting thing, I would argue this is one of the, like I said, we've talked about, good attractions in Walt Disney World, and I think that when you look at just how Fantasyland, I kind of am enveloping this in, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train attraction into the entirety of Fantasyland, because I truly believe this was one of the last great kind of expansion / replacement areas we've seen in Walt Disney World. And I hate to say it because, well, it's been 11 years since this area opened, and it's crazy when you think about it. I remember when this area was new, and this was the new area, and now it is 11 years old. It is kind of crazy when you think about it. And like I said, we're kind of going around the outside of this attraction. Like, you could really see just how much this attraction envelops the entire area of New Fantasyland. And if you kind of looked on a map, basically we just did a full circle around the attraction. Like, this attraction was in the heart of this brand new expansion in the Magic Kingdom. And obviously you have all of the seven dwarves in this attraction as well, which is obviously nice. And what's interesting too with this attraction, it did actually lead to them closing a similar Seven Dwarfs type of attraction, which was Scary White's Scary Adventures. And we just talked about it in the beginning of the video, how this attraction is perfect because it's good for kids, it's good for older adults, right? It's a roller coaster, but it's not scary, but it's thrilling enough where parents can enjoy it. Maybe not as super thrilling, scream your head off, but it's something that they could do with the kids, right? And that's really what this attraction does so well in so many different ways. And they end up closing seven Snow White's Scary Adventures, which kind of paved the way for them to create this attraction, which is kind of the new Snow White attraction, which is obviously different than a normal sort of Fantasyland dark ride, right? This is a very different format. They could have easily done that, what they always do, which is just a regular fantasy dark ride. You put up the kind of, the medieval tent look exterior with a show building around it. This is, like I said, this is one of the last things from Disney that I really felt like they innovated. And I'm tough on Disney, but I think that's because the expectations of Disney are higher. I have higher expectations of Disney than I do for Busch Gardens even, or, Knoebels, or Hershey Park, like Kennywood. I'm definitely showing my geographic area by saying that stuff. But if you guys know what those parks are, Dollywood, Six Flags, right, Cedar Point, we have a different standard of justice for Disney, and especially Walt Disney World, which is kind of seen as the capital of the tourism industry. Look at all the stuff that has come into Orlando since, Walt Disney World came in. So this is obviously it's a kind of round third here. This attraction was innovative, was different from the status quo of what they normally do, and it still brings home the same spirit that we love about the Disney parks. And this attraction perfectly encapsulates so much of that. And another interesting fact, I actually learned this a couple of weeks ago on a Resort TV live stream. Shout out to them. And I was watching, and actually, when there's, how that when there's a no wait, it's just a walk on for Tower of Terror or Haunted Mansion, it'll be a 13-minute wait. Other attractions have certain wait time things. When it's a walk-on for Seven Dwarfs, which we basically never see, but when it does happen, it is a 7-minute wait time, which is kind of an interesting fact. Didn't know that. Alright guys, so that is going to do it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this brief little tour around Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. There isn't a lot of content on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, specifically here in the MC Park, so I figured let's go over there today. Let's look at an attraction that a lot of people really haven't covered or really focused on. And as much as it's 11 years old, it still really hasn't been talked about all that much in a lot of the things that I've seen online. So I figured this was the perfect place and timing to do that. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos that'll be coming out in the near future. And I'll see you guys again next time.